So, Professor, what is the connection between the French Intifada and the Gilets Jaunes?
Well, on the surface, there isn't any connection at all. But the real connection is the phrase I used at the end of the lecture, which is derided humanity. I think both communities, that's to say the Muslim community or the community of immigrants in the banlieue and the Gilets Jaunes, both feel that they're excluded and by French society as a mainstream and actually despised. And I like that phrase from Georges Bataille, derided humanity, because it explains how we feel when we're angry.
What do you view as the failure of Macron?
I don't think, I wouldn't talk about the failure of Macron in the present tense, but I do think ultimately that he will fail. And that's because he's got no political family. He won the election, as the French say, faute de mieux, because people were scared of the far right getting in. And the generation that voted for him was an optimistic, but also possibly politically illiterate generation that doesn't understand or hasn't understood how French society is structured. So I think, if you like, it's not that he has failed, there's a high risk of failure, which is a different thing.
And how did your book, in a way, predict the current crises in France?
It didn't, except accidentally. I, since the 1980s, have been feeling that you can diagnose, that you can feel, I talked about this word atmosphere, that things are happening. And I felt it in France in the 1980s, I felt it in the 90s. I remember being in North Africa in the early part, in the noughties, and again feeling that kind of the tensions that were very alive. So I'm not a prophet, but I do have an almost superstitious belief that good writers, which I would like to think I'm not too bad, can have premonitions, can sense the world around them and how it's changing. And I'd like to think that that's probably maybe a positive contribution that I made.